Welcome back, guys. This is day 5 of rotation dynamics, right? And in yesterday's class, I just introduced you to the moment of inertia. We've talked about moment of inertia of some bodies, not a lot of bodies. I just talked about a rod, and we even derived for a moment of inertia of a rod. We integrated from one end to the other end. We came up with a value ml square by 3. Guys, remember the derivation of moment of inertia of any body, it's not that important. Okay, you just need to be aware of the process. Nobody is going to ask you directly how you derive it. In the end, what you need in this entire topic is the value of moment of inertia. Okay, so it is good to understand that the processor how you got the moment of inertia, but if you don't get it, it's totally fine. It is totally fine. You can happily live with that. It's not like someone's gonna put you in a jail or anything like that. Okay, it's totally fine. No, nothing's gonna happen to you. All right. So let's look at the problem. In yesterday's problem, I told you how to find the moment of inertia of this thing. We got it as ml square by 3. And even after that, what if the rod is placed like somewhere around here where the half of the length is one side, half of the length is some length is on the other side. How do you do it? You simply integrate from this end to this end. That is how we do it. And I even told you about radius of gyration. We will get into more ideas about radius of gyration. For now, all you need to do is simply equate it to mk square, and k is the radius of gyration. Let us take example as for a ring. Yesterday, we've already talked about it. For a ring, moment of inertia is mr square, so which is equals to mk square. So k is nothing but r. So in this case, for a ring, k value is r. For a rod, about one end, the moment of inertia of a rod about one end. The moment of inertia of a rod about one end was actually what? ml square by 3. Now you equate it to mk square, cancels out, k equals to root over L by 3, not root over L by 3, L by root 3. L by root 3. So this is the radius of gyration in this case. Okay, the radius of gyration value, all you need to do is simply equate it to mk square, and you'll get the value of radius of gyration. That's all. There is no big deal here. Okay. Now, let us look at some of the interesting problems here. Okay. Let me check if I have any. No, they are not here. They must be here. Yep. Open 3D calculator and it's supposed to open. Why did it not open? Yep, we got it. Let me hide all the stupid things here. Oh, no. I don't want this. I even made a better one. Let me go to that. Yeah, look at this. There are different rods here. There is a black one, a sky blue one, a green one, and a yellow one. Okay. If you are clear about it, I'm going to only show you a few. I mean, like not all of them at once. Green ones also. Will just hide it. Let's just talk about only this one. Only this one. And look at the rod, the way it is rotating. The rod is simply rotating about the axis, which is this dark blue thing. You know the z-axis. Z-axis is the axis of rotation, and the rod is rotating. Can somebody tell me what is the moment of inertia of this rod? If you have to write the moment of inertia, let us just hide the axis. It looks better, I guess. Yeah. The rod is simply rotating about one of its ends. So the moment of inertia is simply ml square by 3. Everyone knows this value. We've just done this. It doesn't matter in which direction it is rotating. As long as it is rotating about one of its axis, the moment of inertia is simply ml square by 3. It is as simple as that. No, we don't need to worry about this one. What's the other one? This one. Let's look at this one, the black rod now. Let us say the mass is m and the moment of L length, the total length is also L. The total length, I'm sorry. I'm talking about total length here. So the total mass is m and total length is L. What is the moment of inertia? Yeah, we have like use common sense. Clearly you can use common sense saying take this as two separate rods. This part's mass is m by 2, length is l by 2. This part's mass is m by 2, length is l by 2. Can somebody tell me the moment of inertia? It is a scalar quantity, all you need to do is simply add it. Can somebody do a quick calculation and tell me, instead of considering it as a full rod, you simply consider it as two rods, m by 2, l by 2, m by 2, l by 2. That is the point that I'm telling you. All you need to do is use common sense. That's all. There is no specific rule how you should do it or anything like that. And you find a problem with a rod, use your common sense and try to bring out the answer. In this case, what is the answer? Anybody, guys? For this part, ml square by 3, like for this end, I mean, it's like two rods. One rod is like this, another rod is separately here. This mass is m by 2 into l by 2 whole square by 3. Again on this side, m by 2 into l by 2 whole square by 3. And all you have to do is simply add them. Can somebody give me the answer? Why are you being so slow? Karthik. Karthik, what's the answer? Mazida already gave the answer. Good. Karthik, your voice is breaking.
12.
Your voice is breaking, but I heard 12. So all you need to do is simply add the
ml square by 12, sir.
get the moment of inertia as ml square by 12. So guys, remember this idea that if only you have a rod like this, and you want the moment of inertia about the midpoint of the rod. You want the moment of inertia about the mid axis passing through the midpoint. It can entirely directly write it as ml square by 12. About the end, it is ml square by 3. If you remember that, if you change the axis to the end, it was ml square by 3. If it is about the midpoint, it is ml square by 12. Guys, you need to remember these values. It's not the thing that I would say a lot. I never ask you to remember values or formulas, but this is the only time that I would actually ask you to remember these values, because you in an exam you can't sit there and derive all these values separately. So it's a very bad thing. For a rod, we only started with rod, so okay. Let's just talk about all the points until now. If it is a simple particle, if it is about an axis, if it is a simple particle mass at a distance r, moment of inertia is mr square. About an axis, if it is a ring, the moment of inertia is mr square. If it is not just a ring, it is also a cylinder, a hollow cylinder, the moment of inertia is still mr square. We've already talked about these values, so remember these values. Now we're talking about a rod, about this axis, ml square by 3. Now the same rod, ml square by 12. So these are the values that you need to remember. Take a screenshot if you want to. It is important. In your material, I guess, in your college material, the values are always tabled, like they're all given in a single table. Trust me, you don't even have to listen to today's and tomorrow's class. I mean, to solve basic problems, you don't even have to understand today's or tomorrow's class. All you have to do is just by heart those moment of inertia values, and you'll happily be able to do it. Yet I'm asking you to be a little careful and try to just follow the process. I hope you are clear about all these values. Let us talk about another value that is lying there, which is, I'm taking out this segment and taking, okay, F is also over. Let's talk about H. Can somebody tell me the moment of inertia of H? It's a rod vertically rotating like that about the axis. If somebody can give the answer for this, I think, I mean, you will already get the point. The rod's mass is m and length is l. Neeti and Preeti already gave the answer. That is really good. That's really good. In this case, guys, can somebody, is anybody even trying, or do you want me to just give me the answer? Look at that. The rod is rotating about the blue axis clearly. Can somebody give me the, Aditya gave the wrong answer. In this case, the masses, the whole mass, even the length of the rod is L, it doesn't even matter, because this length is not even considered here. The important point here is this distance, the distance from the axis. Okay, about this axis, this mass is going and this mass is going and this mass is going and this mass is going. Basically, each and every mass is going about this axis. So the whole mass is actually at a distance d. So the moment of inertia is basically md square. Neeti and Preeti actually gave the answer. That is really good. Sharath also gave the answer. Sharath also says the answer is mr square. That is good. Aditya says the answer is 0. The answer is 0 when the rod is here on this axis. The rod is here going around like this. Let me show it to you, Aditya, again. You see that the rod is clearly going around the axis like that. I can't position it. It's fine. I think you get it. I think you already get it. Yeah. So the moment of finish of this thing is that. Now I want to hide that and show you another value. Now this is interesting. Look at this rod. It is at an angle. It is at an angle. Mass is m and length is l. How can you do this problem? Can any? I am even going to give you the angle also. Let us just say this angle is alpha. Angle with the axis is alpha. Can somebody give me the answer? Or do you want me to just say it? Vamshi. Vamshi, tell me.
Sir, is it ml square by 12 sine square alpha?
Not by 12. It is a
Into
basically like you can take the component of length. This is L sine alpha and this is L cos alpha. L cos alpha basically lies on the axis of this axis. It is as if a rod of length L sine alpha rotating about its axis. Basically, we used to have ml square by 3. In the place of L, you simply put ml sine alpha square by 3. You get it now? Yeah, somebody gave the answer also. Mr square sine alpha. Neeti and Preeti, do you already know this problem? I don't know. You are doing good. So ml sine alpha whole square by 3. This is how you write the moment of inertia when it is at an angle. Make sure you clearly are doing about the angle. Okay, you cannot take it as a mistake. If you take that as a wrong value, you are gone. You're done. So make sure you're taking the angles right. L sine alpha. If the angle is given in the opposite direction, you'll have to write L cos alpha. It's not like you remember this value. Okay, if the angle is given with what if the angle is given with like this? If somebody gives an angle with this, then you write it as L cos alpha and write it. Like use your common sense instead of just completely remembering the formulas. Okay, so I have just given you all the different kinds of models, and I'm going to give you, I'll show you another problem here. I want you to find the answer for this one. Let us check if you can get it. Yep, here we are. Let us say it is forming a squarish shape ring, not a ring. You can't call it as a ring, a frame, a squarish shaped frame. Okay. And the Aditya has a doubt. Sir, once can you take that rod a bit far in that position? Aditya, what is your doubt? I didn't get it. Aditya, what is it?
So once can you take that same picture again, that last where the rod was at certain angle?
Yeah, yeah.
Can you take that in that position? Only take the rod a bit far away from that axis.
Far away from the axis, we will talk about it. We are going to talk about something called a parallel axis theorem and a perpendicular axis theorem. In that case, we will be talking about a lot of other concepts. So don't worry about it. Okay.
Okay, it is interesting.
So look at this problem, guys. Each and every rod has a mass m. Each and every rod has a length L. It's a squarish frame, and it is clearly rotating about. Reset the standard view. Oh, how do I reset it? I don't know how to reset. Like, yeah, I guess you can see this. So that ring is going around. Can somebody give the moment of inertia of this ring going around? Each and every rod has a mass m. Each and every rod has a length L, mass m, length L. 4 rods forming this squarish ring type of a body. Can you give me the moment of inertia of this? I'm just giving you 1 minute. Please try to find the answer. There is no friction here, so it won't stop rotating ever. Sumantra has already gave one answer. Let us check whether people will get the right answer. Sumantra already gave the first answer. Let's just see. Karthik is so lazy. He gave me the value to just calculate. Like I have to calculate the value. Harshita also gave the answer. Sumantraj. Sai Vamshi. Sai Vamshi, tell me.
Sir, is it like 2m L square by 3?
What about the parallel rod?
Parallel rod.
Like I'll tell you how to do it. Guys, even though you're doing it, it's fine. For this rod, the moment of inertia is 0. Can Vamshi, why? Vamshi.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, why is the moment of inertia of this rod 0?
Because it lies on the axis.
Beautiful. So for that it is 0. For this it is ml square by 3. For this it is ml square by 3. And for this we've already talked about it. It depends on this distance, md square basically. But d here is nothing but L, since it's a squarish plate, right? Since it's a squarish plate, d here it is L. So this value becomes ml square. So all you have to do is ml square by 3 plus ml square by 3 plus ml square, which is 2 ml square by 3 plus ml square. That gives us 5 ml square by 3. And Sumantraj already gave the right answer a long ago. Yeah, good, Sumantraj. So that is the value of moment of inertia of that ring. It's not a square plate, guys. It's just a ring-shaped body. Okay, a ring-shaped body. So I guess you get that clear. Now, I want you to understand one more idea here. It doesn't really come from anywhere else. Or why not I show that in the other app? In the Shaper, I'll show it. You'll get a better idea. Let us say this is a rod. This is a rod of mass m and a length L. And this is the axis of rotation. So obviously moment of inertia is ml square by 3. Now it is clear. Let us write these masses as small m so that you don't get confused. So mass is m, so moment of inertia is ml square by 3. So one of the important points, one of the interesting points here is, like yesterday I've shown it to you already in the ring, and I'm showing it to you here again. When I, oh wait, not this. When I do this, when I'm converting into a rectangular plate or squarish plate, let us say it is a rectangular plate or it is a squarish plate. Let even show, it doesn't matter. Like let us say I raise it to a very high length. The mass distribution from the axis, is exactly the same thing, x dx. X and dx, just like we used to have a ring from the axis, and when I extended it, it has become a what? A hollow cylinder. And in both the cases, if it's the ring's mass is small m, its moment of inertia is mr square. If the cylinder's mass is capital M, the moment of inertia is still mr square, because the distribution is still the same thing. So it's just like the same thing. Even though when we have a rod, it's a very thin rod, the distribution is the same thing from the distance from the axis, of different masses. We take x and dx, we've done the same thing. Even though I extend it, like I want you to clearly understand this thing. It is difficult to select now. Okay, let me zoom it. It is not getting selected. Yeah, no. Even though I extend the body like this, the moment of inertia, I mean, like, yeah, the capital, when the rod has a mass small m, the moment of inertia is ml square by 3. Even though it is extended like this, no matter how far you extend it, like let us say you extend it by a distance b, since it's a rectangle, this length is still L, you extend it by a distance b, the moment of inertia is, let us say the mass changes, but it is still ml square by 3 only. I hope you understand, because from the axis, the distances are completely similar to the previous situation only. You're not changing the amount of distances from the axis. You're simply, You're extruding the body just by maintaining the same distances along the axis. So the B does not matter at all. The height to which it is extruded, the height to which it is extruded doesn't really matter. Of course, it changes the mass. That's a whole different case. But no matter what is the height, whenever you were given a rectangular plate, always try to remember that If this is the axis of rotation, z-axis, let us say, whenever you given a rectangular plate, only look at this distance, forget about this distance, only write the moment of inertia as ml square by 3. That is the value that matters. This value doesn't really matter at all. Yeah, if somebody asks about this axis, then this matters and this doesn't. Vice versa, obviously. So I hope you get that point. Like whenever you're extruding a body from a specific shape, just like yesterday also, I will take another body here. Let us just take another body here. What was the body? I have taken a circle and have to offset it. How do I offset it? Yep. Now look at this cylinder. Even though you take it as a ring, the moment of inertia is still the same thing. About which axis, guys? I've changed the axis here. Clearly observe. I'm talking about this axis now. So about this axis, the moment of inertia is mr square. Even though I extrude the body, I'm not changing the distances from the axis. The distances from the axis is still being kept the same value. So even though I extend the value, the moment of inertia still remains the same value. This is a very interesting idea that you need to really understand. Okay. Now, once you're clear about this, if you have any doubts, please make it quick and ask. Otherwise, I'll move on to the next idea. Can somebody find the moment of inertia of, I'm going to draw a body here. Can somebody find the moment of inertia of that? Sketch line. I wanted a line. Yeah. Just this part, like every transfer part is not there. Just this part, it's like an arc, only an arc of length. Okay. I'm just talking about an arc length. The mass of this thing is m arc. Let's just call it as m arc. Everything is at a distance r only. So the moment of inertia is nothing but m arc into r square. That is the beauty about moment of inertia. It doesn't really have to be that. It's not really about the shape. All it matters is the mass and distance from the axis of rotation. That's all. Okay, those are the two only things that are that needed to be clearly observed. All right. Now, once you're clear about this part, I want to talk about more shapes now. What other shape do you want me to talk about? Of course, the shape that everyone talks is nothing but the next shape that we need to talk about is a disk. What is the moment of inertia of a disk? Can somebody tell me what's a way to write the moment of inertia of a disk? What's the best way to write? We already know the moment of inertia of a ring. Aditya, tell me, how are you going to do it?
Ring, sir, from the axis to the end point.
Your voice is broken. Can you repeat it again?
Sir, I am saying cut out infinite number of small rings from the axis.
So all you need to do is at a distance r or x or whatever it is, you take a ring. I'm going to do this, just this one for you people. Okay. If only the total pi r square area is giving a mass of m for the disk, what is the area of this little ring? The length of the ring is 2 pi r. The thickness of the ring is dr. You get that? The length of the ring into the thickness of the ring is dr, is giving you a mass of dm. So you cross multiply it, you get the mass dm equals to m by pi r square into 2 pi r dr. Pi cancel out. You get m by r square into 2r dr. This is dm. Now that you have the moment of mass, only we have the mass, you want to write the moment of inertia of only the ring. I'm only writing the moment of inertia of the ring, which is di. which is nothing but dm into r. We already know the formula of moment of inertia of ring. I'm only using the formula of ring only. Dm into r, mass into r square. This is the moment of inertia of the ring. When I integrate it from 0 to capital R, this is 0 to I all I get is nothing but the moment of inertia of the disk, which is, I'm going to put dm here, the value dm that I've got there is nothing but m by r square 2r dr into r square. So if we do that, mr square 2, I'll take 2 also out, integral r cube dr 0 to r. I continue it, 2 by r square. Can somebody tell me the integration of r cube, which is nothing but r power 4 by 4, 0 to capital R, which is nothing but 2m by r square, r power 4 by 4. This gives us 2, this is r square and r square is left. You are left with a moment of inertia of mr square by 2. Guys, if you didn't understand the process, it's totally fine. Please don't ask me to repeat the method. If somebody is going to do that. What is it, Samant?
Sir, the radius, the r power 4 is small radius, right, sir?
No. But when you put the limits 0 to r, it becomes capital R, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Got
So
it.
when you put it the limit, it becomes capital R. So even if you didn't understand the process, guys, this is one of the most important values again. So please try to remember the moment of inertia of a disk is mr square by 2. That too about the axis passing through center. We are going to discuss other ideas also, but this value is important, mr square by 2. Now I'm going to ask you a very interesting question on the shaper itself. Let us delete the bodies. Let us kill all the bodies. Die. And now I'm going to draw a neat body. Why is it not drawing? Anyway, circle. I want a circle. Yeah, that's a circle. So that is a disk. So the moment of inertia of this disk obviously is how much? If only you talk about an axis that is passing through horizon, about this axis, if it is rotating, the moment of inertia is mr square by 2. That is what you needed to remember. If only I do something here, you must answer this thing, guys. Is there a way? Yeah, line. I'm going to do this now. I hope you're able to see what I'm about to do. What is the moment of inertia of this thing? What is the moment of Neeti and Preeti already gave the answer. Let us say I cut it. After cutting it, I didn't do anything. Something happened. Okay. Oh, the app has restarted. So what we're looking at is the new part is like initially the full mass is capital M. So moment of inertia was mr square by 2. Now the mass is m1. Let us say the parts cut out of it, m sector. Yeah, let's just call it as m sector square r by 2 only, because about this axis the mass distribution has not changed. If you only you removed some random part, the moment of inertia changed, but you clearly removed a sector. So the mass distribution from the center, it was uniformly taken out. Like I've taken out uniformly from the sector, then the mass distribution doesn't change. You people really got it. You people completely got the idea. Now another question for you people. I think you already know what the question is going to be. You stay right there. Oh, no. Let me delete this body. So get ready with your answers. I think you already know what the question is going to be. The moment of inertia of a disk is clearly mr square by 2. Everyone knows that. What is the moment of inertia of a cylinder? What is the moment of inertia of a cylinder? How much is the moment of inertia of a cylinder? About the axis passing through horizon. What is the moment of inertia of a cylinder? Vamshi raised his hand and people already gave the answers. Everyone gave the answers. That is really good, guys. We simply extruded it parallel to the axis. So we didn't change the mass distribution at all. So the moment of inertia is nothing but m cylinder now into r square by 2. The moment of inertia of the cylinder into r square by 2. So that is how simple it is to write the moment of inertia in most of the cases, but it gets complicated. Don't get your high hopes all up right now itself. It gets a lot more complicated slowly. Let me get to a body which is a bit difficult now. Now I'm not going to explain the value for this body, but I'm going to give you the method. I want the moment of inertia. We know already for a rod about the end axis, about the middle axis. We know the ring, we know the hollow cylinder, we know the squarish plate or rectangular plate, and we know for a disc, we know for a solid cylinder. Yeah, we know a lot of quantities. So let's just move on to the next body, which is a hollow sphere. The hollow sphere's moment of inertia. I don't know how to make a hollow sphere in the Shaper app. That is why I'm choosing this to do. For a hollow sphere, how do you find the moment of inertia? I'm giving you the method from the middle line, from the middle space. At an angle theta, I take an small angle d theta again. This forms a ring on the hollow sphere. Like the sphere is like this, I'm considering a ring here, like a ring over here. If the sphere is like this, I'm considering a ring over here. Let me see if I can make a sphere out of this itself. Yeah, I think I can make it. Yes, finally, yeah, we did it. It's not a sphere, but let's just consider it as a sphere. And if I can make it transparent, color, no, color is for only pro mode. No, I don't want colors. I want to go back. No, it's not letting me go back now. Leave it. So anyway, a hollow sphere at a distance theta, the angle is d theta. So this thickness is r d theta. I have to write the small radius as some r, which is nothing but, if this is capital R, this is r cos theta, I guess. Yeah, because let me show it to you separately. Let me show all the readings first of all separately. This is r, this is theta. So this part is r cos theta, this part is r sin theta. Nobody cares about r sin theta. We need r cos theta because the ring's radius is basically r cos theta. So when you write the moment of inertia, this is not a vector quantity. You can simply directly integrate this thing. So moment of inertia of this thing is dm, moment of inertia of this ring, dm, we will find out the dm value, into the radius of the ring is nothing but r cos theta whole square. That is di. I think we got really close here already. dm into the r cos theta is the radius. Now writing dm is the main process, main pain. I'm going to write dm in a very specific manner. For an area 4 pi r square, the mass is capital M. What is the area of this ring? Let us write the length of the ring first of all. 2 pi r cos theta is the length of the ring, which is nothing but the perimeter of the ring. Into the thickness is r d theta. We have it right here. So for this, the mass is dm. So from this, you have to find dm. Yeah, the process looks really clumsy, guys. You do not have to remember. You have to put this whole thing here. Now you put this dm here, you integrate, the integration gets really big. In the end, you will end up with a very simple answer saying 2 by 3 mr square. The integration process is available in HC Verma. I suggest you to go through that if you are really interested. If you consider yourself as one of those students who takes this thing really serious, watch this video again and do this part. Like all you have to do is find the dm and put it there and integrate the integration. Why don't you do it and send me the images? Like, let's see if we can actually do it. Don't copy it in HC Verma, okay? Try to find the moment of inertia, integrate it from 0 to the angle. You are integrating from angle 0 to what do you say? Pi by 2. If only you do that, you are only doing for half a sphere. If you do that from minus pi by 2 to plus pi by 2, it's like you're integrating from this end to that end. minus pi by 2 to plus pi by 2, you're actually covering the entire hollow sphere. And in the end, this is the answer, guys. You can simply remember the answer. No one is going to hurt you if you remember the answer. You won't even get to, I mean, like you won't even get through this process again in your life, maybe. No one's going to ask you the process, trust me. So don't worry about the process. Now I'm talking about a solid sphere. I will just discuss the method again for you people, just the method. For a solid sphere, I'm going to take a hollow sphere of radius r, a thickness dr. A hollow sphere of radius r and thickness dr. Let us write the mass of this hollow sphere is dm. So di will be, any guesses? It's not directly dm r square. You are considering a hollow sphere. So the mass of a moment of inertia is 2 by 3 dm r square. 2 by 3 dm r square. This is the moment of inertia of that hollow sphere. Now you have to integrate it from 0 to capital R. You integrate it, you will end up with an answer saying 2 by 5 mr square. Both the integration methods are available in some textbooks, and nobody is seriously going to ask you to remember the values at all. So you don't really have to remember. I mean, like they've asked you to remember the values, not the processes. No one's going to ask you the processes, so you don't really have to worry about the processes. All you need to do is just, guys, like I'll just give you all the important bodies: ring, cylinder, obviously a particle mass, a simple particle mass, and a rod, rectangular plate, disc, solid cylinder, hollow sphere, solid sphere. All you have to do is just remember these values, and it's not over. There are more bodies again. They're like, so somebody asked for a cone yesterday. If you are talking about a cone, I don't remember who that person is. If you're talking about a cone, all you're doing is basically, what is it? Can somebody tell me what exactly are we talking about? You're basically talking about a bunch of discs added together. And you know the moment of inertia of a disc, you're simply adding all the discs together. So you're basically writing a moment of inertia of a lot of discs. So I hope you can find this value. I really hope it, but if you don't get it by the end of this topic, ask me somewhere in the time. But these values are really important. Yeah, you can talk about cone, you can talk about a lot of other bodies, but these values are really important. I suggest you to remember these values very, very clearly. Okay, so that is one thing. Now, moving on to the big topic. I won't completely discuss this today because the time is like, we've already taken a lot of time today. The parallel axis theorem and perpendicular axis theorem. I will tell you what these are directly. I won't give you the, the proofs for these theorems today. Tomorrow, let's look at your response. Let's look at your response. It is available in H.C. Verma, guys. It is available in H.C. Verma, the parallel axis theorem and the perpendicular axis theorem. Let us just see, like, you guys, why don't you guys go ahead and check it in the textbooks and check if it is feasible to understand. Okay. According to your feedback, I'll decide whether I have to discuss it tomorrow or not. Okay. The theory is very simple. In parallel axis theorem, let us say you have a disk. You have any body, it's fine. About this axis, the moment of inertia is known as mr square by 2. The parallel axis theorem says if only you take another axis, which is at a distance d from the center of mass. This is the center of mass. You're going away from the center of mass. Remember this thing. You're going away from the center of mass parallel to the axis. That's why it's called as parallel axis theorem. The moment of inertia is simply mr square by 2 plus md square. This md square is additionally added in parallel axis theorem. Using this idea, obviously you can talk about any axis. You can talk about the edge. You can talk about an axis which is outside. For a rod, you take about the center. You already know. You try to shift it by this point. You try to shift it here. You try to shift it here. You use this theorem anywhere, parallel axis theorem. It's a very simple idea. All you have to do is simply add md square. The proof we will discuss tomorrow. You guys check it today in the textbook, and tomorrow I will discuss it. And the perpendicular axis theorem is also simple. I will take the example of a disk only. Perpendicular axis theorem is also very simple. Let us just call it as this as z axis, this as x axis, and this as y axis. The perpendicular axis theorem says the moment of inertia about x, moment of inertia about y, the summation of these two is about nothing but z. And this is only valid for 2D bodies, so please be careful. Like a square plate, like a disk, like a body which is only in 2D planes. So the perpendicular axis theorem is also same. Like you take any two perpendicular axes in the plane x, y, z, x, y. You simply add the moment of inertia about these two axes. You will simply get the moment of inertia of the z axis. It's quite an easy idea. So using this idea also, you can do a lot of stunts. Like I'll just give you one example and end the class today. Okay, take a disk. This is z axis, this is x axis, and this is y axis. So if you have ix plus iy equals to iz, we already know the value of iz, moment of inertia about z axis. It is nothing but for a disk, it is mr square by 2. But we also can intuitionally say about x-axis and about y-axis, the disks literally looks the same, right? About this axis and about this axis, it doesn't really matter for a disk. So I would write ix and iy are basically the same. So I write it as 2ix. So from that, ix is nothing but mr square by 4. So for a disk, the moment of inertia about this axis is mr square by 2, but about this axis or about any diameter, it is basically mr square by 4. So using these two transformations about parallel axis and the perpendicular axis, make sure perpendicular axis is only used for 2D bodies. Remember this thing. These two theorems can be used and find the moment of inertia of a lot of bodies in different styles and different actions. So Neeti and Preeti says, so how to find the values with respect to x-axis and y-axis and z-axis separately. It is difficult only to find x-axis and y-axis. We have an advantage here saying these two are easy. These two are equal. Otherwise, you can't really find separately x and y. It needs a lot of mathematics again. If you want ix and iy, it needs a lot of separately mathematics. But we have a theorem saying the sum of these two is this. And we also know that these two are equal. So that is why I made it as 2ix. And luckily, like in this situation, we have the answer. You take a random body. Let us say this is the shape of a body. Okay, now you have iz, ix, and iy. Now I can't do anything. All I can do is I can simply write ix plus iy equal to iz. That's all. I can't find ix. I find iy. I can't even find iz. This is a random body. All I can say is this theorem works since it's a 2D body. But I don't know the shape of the body. I can never say ix equal to iy, or I can't even relate anything. So in this situation, it gets really difficult. But as for a disk, it was really easy for us to do it. So tomorrow we are going to use these two theorems and are going to do a lot of stunts, a lot of fun stuff, and find the moment of inertia of a lot of bodies in different angles. We are going to do that. Okay. So get ready for that in tomorrow's class. I think it's good enough for today. Before I end the class, any doubts regarding just today's class? I suggest you watch the class again today because we discussed a lot of things today. So I suggest to watch the class again. Any doubts before I end the class today, guys? Thank you, Neeti, Preeti. Yeah, thank you. Any more doubts? No, nothing. So thanks so much, guys. It was a fun session again. I hope you understood a lot of things that I discussed today. Tomorrow is going to be a lot more fun. Like, trust me, next week is just a roller coaster ride, literally. We have a lot of interesting things to discuss in next week also. So thanks so much, and bye-bye.
Thank you, sir.